So I have done this video I think for the last 2 years. Absolutely loved this. The Dream Harbour is very reminiscent of Stars Hollow in Gilmore Girls. I know that this book has had a lot of hype on Book Talk. I had started this series like years and years ago when I was 18 and just never finished it. This series kind of combines the magic of Harry Potter, the trials and the high stakes of Hunger Games, and the dragons of How to Train Your Dragon. And I just feel like the relationship in this book was not my vibe. I feel like having one book left in a series is so annoying. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. I do hope that this lighting is okay. We are starting to lose the light now with daylight savings. I thought we could sit down today and chat through my mid-year book tag. So I have done this video I think for the last 2 years, and I just think it'd be quite fun to just like keep it going and just kind of see how my book taste changes throughout the years, if it changes, what books I put for like what prompts. So I have gone back to my last year's video and written down the exact same questions as I did. So I do plan to do a mid-year reading wrap up. It will be coming, maybe it might be the video after this, there might be like a video in between. So without further ado, let's jump into this video. The first question we have is the best book that you have read so far this year. So I have two for this one, and they are both the start of series, these two here. So we have Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welsh and The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. So Love and Gelato follows a girl who is struggling with grief because her mum and her, they had booked tickets as her graduation present to go over to Italy and spend the summer together. However, her mum passed away before they could go on this trip together. This girl, with some encouragement from her friends, is told to go over and enjoy her summer over in Italy, and just kind of have like a summer abroad. And while she's over there, she finds a diary that was written by her mum when her mum was traveling through Italy before she had her. It kind of just helps her to like feel closer to her mum, and the scenery in this book is absolutely beautiful. It is the first book in a series. I think the series is called Love and Gelato. Absolutely loved this. This also has a bit of a romance in it. Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. So this one here is kind of centered around the small town called Dream Harbour, and Dream Harbour is very reminiscent of Stars Hollow in Gilmore Girls. If you really like Gilmore Girls, you will definitely really enjoy this. This again is the start of a series, and in this book here you are following Jeannie, who owns a cafe, and Logan, who is a farmer. And Jeannie is kind of like doing up the Pumpkin Spice Cafe to get it to like reopen. And here you just have like the fall festival, which happens in Gilmore Girls. You have all the town meetings, which again happens in Gilmore Girls, and it's kind of like a romance between the two of them. And I think Jeannie is new to town as well, and Logan has kind of like grown up there. So yeah, I loved both of these. The second question is the best sequel that you have read so far this year. So I have actually read a lot of sequels, but I have got like 2 sets of sequels. The first one of course has to be Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. So this one is like the 5th book in the Hunger Games series, but like the 2nd book in like the prequel series so far. This one here, you are just following Haymitch's games. So you meet Haymitch in the Hunger Games because he is Katniss's mentor, so you know that he won his games. You kind of like go back in time and see him in his games, and there is a lot of nods to The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Hunger Games, and Catching Fire in this book as well. And I just think Suzanne Collins has written it so incredibly well. Haymitch's games was also a quarter quell because he was in the 50th games, so that means that there is double the amount of tributes that are reaped every year. It was heartbreaking, but it was also like very, very well done. The arena was so cool in this, and I know that this book has had a lot of hype on Book Talk and like BookTube and like Bookstagram and things like that, but the hype is so worth it because this was just incredible. So absolutely loved this. I do definitely want to do a reread of the Hunger Games at some point as well, but I would love to read them in order of like timeline wise of like when they actually happened. I think that would be really cool. And then the other sequel that I have absolutely loved this year is the Harry Potter books. So I have Order of the Phoenix, The Half-Blood Prince, and The Deathly hellos. So I just absolutely love the Harry Potter series. I had started this series like years and years ago when I was 18 and just never finished it. And I listened to these three on audio, like narrated by Stephen Fry, and he just did such an incredible job of encapturing all of the magic of Hogwarts. I'm sure everyone knows what Harry Potter is about, but if you don't, in the first book you meet Harry, and he I think is 10, and he gets his letter from Hogwarts, and he has no idea what Hogwarts is because he was raised by people who are not wizards. But then he finds out that he is a wizard, and he's always had all these magical powers that he just couldn't explain. And so then you follow him from age 10 to age 17, and each book follows like years at Hogwarts. So in this book here you follow his 5th year, this one is his 6th year, and this one is his 7th year. And there's so much more to the Harry Potter world than that, but I just absolutely love these books. They have so much found family in here, and the plots are just really good and very high stakes, so I would definitely recommend if you haven't read them already. The next question is a new release that you want to read but haven't got to yet. The Strawberry Patch Pancake House by Laurie Gilmore. So this is the 4th book in the Dream Harbor series. So I've read the first 2 this year, and then I read the 3rd book, which is The Christmas Tree Farm at Christmas time. And this book here came out in April, and I just hadn't got to it yet, and I really want to read it. Again, I love this small town. I just love being in here with all the characters, and I've been binge watching Gilmore Girls at the moment, and so anything that can make me have a very similar vibe to Gilmore Girls, I am set. And then the last book that I have for this question is actually one that I have been reading at the moment, and that is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. So this is the 3rd book in the Imperium series. So Fourth Wing was the 1st book, and then Iron Flame was the 2nd book. This series kind of combines the magic of Harry Potter, the trials and the high stakes of Hunger Games, and the dragons of How to Train Your Dragon. And it is set at a war college. You are following Violet, and Violet gets thrown into the Riders Quadrant, and she basically just has to survive her first year at this war college. There's more to it than that, but I don't want to spoil it. But this one here, I am actually a decent way through this. I'm on page 161. This isn't one of my favorite series, but I do really enjoy this world. It is definitely very dense, and I got this copy from Kmart, and I just love that it has cover art on the inside, and this was literally only like 20 bucks. I just absolutely love that. And yeah, this one obviously I'm kind of cheating because I have already started it, but I haven't finished it. The next question is an anticipated release that you have for the second half of the year, and this has to go to The Gingerbread Bakery by Laurie Gilmore. This is the 5th book in the Dream Harbor series. I don't know if we are getting any more books in this series, but this comes out in September, but I will probably save it and read it in December during Vlogmas because it is obviously another Christmas book. The biggest surprise from 2025. So I have done a good surprise and a bad surprise. So we'll start with the bad surprise. A book that I thought I would like but didn't end up loving was Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. This is the 2nd book in the Knock 'Em Out series, and I just feel like the relationship in this book was not my vibe. Like, it was definitely very lust driven. It didn't really feel like it had any depth, and I also just felt like the characters were not ready to be in a relationship, both mentally and emotionally. So it just didn't hit for me, unfortunately. The good surprise that I have is just a book that, like, I thought I would enjoy, but one that I didn't realize I would enjoy as much as I did. This one is Shopaholic Ties the Knot by Sophie Kinsella. So this is the 3rd book in the Shopaholic series, and you are just following Becky Bloomwood, who is a shopaholic, and she is just planning her wedding, and it's very witty, and yeah, made me smile and giggle a lot. So would definitely recommend picking up this series if you haven't. It's a very light-hearted series, and Sophie Kinsella is from like the UK, so if you are British you might enjoy this because it's very like British humor. I'm not from the UK, I'm from New Zealand, but I can still appreciate the humor in this book. Is an author that is new to you this year that you love. So this one I actually struggled to think through. I only have like one lot of books for this because a lot of the other authors I have either read before or they weren't necessarily like I will read everything written by that author. Laurie Gilmore. Again, the writing is honestly nothing fancy, but I just love the way that she has created this small town. The romances, they're not the most like crazy or like outrageous or even like emotionally like deep, but I just really enjoy them. So this is just like the Dream Harbor series. Obviously I've talked about 2 of these books, but the other one that I'm showing is this one here. This one is the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which is book 2, and then I do have the Christmas Tree Farm downstairs on my bookshelf as well. The next question, question 7, is your new fictional crush. And I honestly didn't have anything for this because I feel like everything else has just kind of been a bit like Question 8 is a book that made you cry, and I actually don't have one for this question. It takes a lot for me to cry in books. There's usually only one trope that makes me cry in books no matter what I read, and I haven't read any books with that trope. So far for 2025 I am tear-free in my reading. Question 9 is a book that made you happy, and again I've tried with this one here to pick different books. I have 2 for this question. So Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. It's like a neighbor childhood to lovers friendship, because this girl would like go to this like beach house or this batch like every summer, and then she was neighbors with these guys who lived there like all year round. So it's very reminiscent of like The Summer I Turned Pretty. There was something that happened and they didn't speak for like years and years, and then the main guy, like the love interest's mum, has passed away, and so she is going back to this small town to like kind of like rekindle with this family and be there for the funeral. So it definitely like touches on grief. I just really enjoyed the like summery atmosphere of this. I was reading it on the beach and it was just like the perfect beach read, and it's kind of like a second chance romance type situation. And then the other book that made me really happy, this one is People We Met on Vacation by Emily Henry. This one has like a college best friends to strangers to lovers, I'm pretty sure. So you're following Poppy, who is a travel influencer, and Alex, who is just like a very like shy introverted dude, and she's like quite a wild child, so they're like quite opposite. I really just felt their chemistry in this, and childhood friends to lovers will get me anytime, so I absolutely loved this. Question 10 is the most beautiful book or books that you have bought this year. So I have 2. Again, of course, I have to mention the Dream Harbor series, because literally every single one of these covers is just absolutely stunning. Like, I genuinely don't think I have a favorite. The other book that I have purchased this year with a really cool cover is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I honestly just love the pink with the green and the tiara. Books that you need to get to before the end of 2025. Honestly, there are so many that I would love to get to by the end of the year, but I have just picked out a few that are kind of like near the top of my radar that I would love to get through. Obviously, like Onyx Storm is down here, but I'm not going to count that because I've already started that book. Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is like the second official book in the Powerless trilogy, because you do have the little novella as well, but that's like just a very small book. I read Powerless I think in September of last year, and I really loved it, and I really need to continue the series because obviously I have like 2 books left, and then I think we are getting another novella as well. Powerless, if you don't know what it's about, you have a world where you have ordinaries and elites in the one world, and it's like in a fantasy world where ordinaries don't have any powers and elites have powers. Elites kind of look down on ordinaries and are trying to like hunt them down and kill them, so that it's kind of like a very elite society basically. And there is a set of trials every year that the elites compete in, and so you have our main girl Peyton, who is an ordinary, and our main guy Kai, who is an elite, and Kai is the king's son, and Kai and Peyton have a bit of a run-in, and Kai is competing in these trials, and then Peyton gets put into these trials, and obviously she's competing with a bunch of elites who all have powers and she doesn't, but she's posing as a psychic because she is very observant, and so she's basically just trying to survive. The way that book 1 ended makes you want to read book 2, so yeah, I'm very intrigued. Of course, I have to mention Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is the 3rd book in the Maple Hills series. I am genuinely very surprised that I have not picked this up already, but I have to be in like a specific mood to pick up Hannah Grace's writing. Maple Hills, I think, is the university that they attend, or it's like the small town. It's one of the two of those. And you have Hallie and Henry, and Hallie is like a very like homebody. She crochets, listens to Taylor Swift, runs a book club, and Henry is he's on the hockey team and his grades are failing and he needs good grades to stay on the hockey team, so Hallie tutors him. So yeah, apparently it's like a very like friends to lovers situation, and this book has the most emotional depth, so I'm really looking forward to reading this. Hopefully I'm in kind of the same position. My battery just died, so we're on to a new battery. Another book that I would love to get to before the end of the year is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This book here I do still have my copy of, but I have lent out to my friend Cara. I'm actually seeing her in a couple days and she's finished reading it, so I'm excited to get this one back. But this is the second and final book in the Letters of Enchantment duology. The first book is Divine Rivals, which I read last year, and I have been desperate to read the second book just to fully complete that series. I know that book 1 is the more romance heavy one and book 2 is the more like politically based one. Basically, if you don't know what Divine Rivals is about, you are following this girl and this guy, and they both work at the same like journaling office thing, whatever you want to call it. They are both like fighting for the same position. One of them gets sent to report on like the war that's happening, because there's also like a war that's going on between two gods, and you kind of pick whichever side you want to fight for. Also a magical element to it, because when this girl is at her house, she is struggling with grief with her mum, and she kind of like writes all her thoughts on this typewriter that belonged to her grandma. She takes these typewritten thoughts, puts it under the door in her wardrobe, and then she like doesn't think much of it, and then like a couple days later she goes into her wardrobe and the letters have vanished. She assumes that they're going to her brother who is fighting in the war, because she is getting a response back. Also on my list to get to before the end of the year is Requiem by Lauren Oliver. So this is the 3rd and final book in the Delirium trilogy. I read Pandemonium last month. I just really want to read this final book to complete the series. It's like a dystopian world where love is a disease. So when you turn 18, you have an operation that completely removes love from your system, and in this world it is believed that love causes you to be irrational, reckless, it makes you not think clearly, it's dangerous, like it's when broken homes happen, and this society is like very structured and ordered. And our main girl in this book, I think her name is Lena, she is just about to turn 18, and then she meets a boy that she falls for, and so she's like really freaked out and thinks that she has the delirium, which is the like disease for falling in love, and the story kind of goes from there. I really loved the first book. The second book was okay, but definitely felt like it had a bit of like middle book syndrome, but I'm very intrigued to see how it ends, and I also would love to just finish the series so that I have completed another series. I feel like having one book left in a series is so annoying. Also on my list is this one here. This one is City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. So this is the 3rd book in the Mortal Instruments series. I read the first 2 books in the Mortal Instruments series last year and really enjoyed them, so I'm definitely keen to continue the series. Basically, in the first book, you are following Clary and her mum have kind of just lived like a very normal standard life, and then one day Clary is in a club and she sees this guy stab another guy. Her friends don't see the people that she can see, so she's really freaked out as to why she can see people that other people can't, and then she comes home and finds out that her mum has disappeared, and she suspects that these people that she can see are involved. So she kind of like goes on a quest to try and find her mum. There's obviously more to it than that. There's also some really good like friendship dynamics in here and found family in here as well. I definitely want to continue the series just to kind of see the world unfold, and I really like the way that Cassandra Clare writes as well. And the last book that is on my list that I want to get to, that I actually think I want to start within like the next day or two, this one is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. So some of these books that I'm showing you, you will see in like a book haul that I am like working on. I've just been buying books not very fast because I'm trying to read more than I buy, but I know that a lot of people absolutely love this book. This is also the start of a duology. Basically in this book you are following Win and what's the guy's name? Bo. They both have like disabilities and they hook up at a party, and then Win finds herself pregnant. That isn't a spoiler, that's literally on the back of the book. And so I think it's just them working out how to parent. I also think you get the story of them falling in love as well. So yeah, I'm very intrigued, and it's just been one that like has just been on my mind for like a really long time. So those are all the books that I have for ones that I want to read before the end of the year. Obviously I do have my complete 25 books to read in 2025. I've read 7 of those at the time that I'm filming this, so I obviously have a lot of work to do on that. Reread that you want to do this year. I don't do a lot of rereads yet because I am still trying to work my way through my physical TBR, but a reread that I would love to do, this one is The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. I have started reading the Narnia Chronicles again. I have read The Magician's Nephew, and I've read this before. I've read this like twice, and I would just love to get through the entire Chronicles, and I feel like I don't want to just like skip this book. Since reading the first one, I kind of want to like read them in order, and this is like really short. It's like less than 200 pages, so it really will not take too long to get through. It obviously takes place in like the war times as well, because C.S. Lewis was, I think he was like in his 20s or 30s in the war times, and so they go and stay with this professor to like escape the war. And in his house they find a magical wardrobe that takes them to this world called Narnia. Really enjoyed The Magician's Nephew, which kind of sets up how Narnia was created. Question 13 is a book that you have been putting off. So this isn't necessarily like a book that I have on my radar to read, but I just took this as like books that I have on my physical TBR that I have been avoiding or putting off. The first book that I've been avoiding is Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. So this is the third and final book in the Knock 'Em Out series. She's chunky. I know that a lot of people really don't like this and were let down by this. I am intrigued by these characters. So in this book you follow Lucian and Sloane, and you get like hints of their story because they seem to have some sort of history, and Lucian seems like his career is a bit shady in like what he does, because he doesn't really open up about what he does, and Sloane is a librarian. So like in theory it sounds really good, but I'm so put off by how much I did not like Things We Hide from the Light that I'm worried I'm not gonna like this. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I also, to be honest, would love to get to this before the end of the year because I want to know whether I want to keep it on my shelf or not. Just had to change my battery again because it died. And the other book that I feel like I've been putting off that I don't know if I put in my last video last year, Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I know that this was popular a while back. The reason I'm so put off by this is when I bought this, the person in the bookstore when I was buying it said, oh, this book is really slow. I feel like I've just been put off ever since, and it has been sat on my shelf for years and years and years. I recently heard Scribspo or Harriet on here talk about this, and she really liked it. However, we seem to have opposite tastes in books, so I am a little bit worried that I'm not gonna like this, but I feel like it's just one of those books that I just need to read it and get it off my physical TBR. A book that you enjoyed that has mixed reviews, so I have a few for this one. The first one is Every Summer After, Carly Fortune. Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. So this again is the second book in the Imperium series. It did feel a little little bit like rinse repeat from Fourth Wing. However, I sometimes quite enjoy the just more like mundane times when you're following them at the school. I do feel like I enjoyed the first half of this a lot more than the second half, but I did really enjoy the last 10% of this. The last book that I have for this question is this one here. This is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is based on J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter universe, but this one is written as a playwright, which J.K. Rowling did have a hand in writing it. But this one here, you follow Harry's son, and it's kind of done by like acts and just all dialogue. Was this book necessary? No, but I still really enjoyed it. It was really easy to read, really quick to read, and it was just nice to be back in the universe and be back with the characters and kind of just like see how they've grown up and how they've progressed and evolved over time. Series you want to finish before the end of 2025. So I feel like I've kind of touched on this a little bit, but we can rapid fire through them. The Knock 'Em Out series, the Letters of Enchantment series, the Imperium series, the Delirium series, and the Shopaholic series. So all of these series, bar this one, I have one book left. And to be honest, the Maple Hills series. Question 16 are, what are your reading goals for 2025? How close are you to achieving them, and do you think you will achieve them? So I have written my reading goals in my reading journal. So my first reading goal was to read 60 books. And so far, as I'm filming this video towards like the beginning of July, I have read 31, which is great because I feel like I am well on track to achieving that goal, because we are like halfway through the year and I'm like halfway through my book goals. I had a book buying goal where I wanted to read 4 books and then buy 1 book. I feel like at the start of the year, this was not very good, but I feel like it has gotten better throughout the year. I have mostly been counting like new books and not thrifted books, but I feel like I'm starting to break even a little bit with the amount that I've thrifted versus the amount that I've read. So I'm definitely like trying to slow down on my book buying because I do have a lot of unread books on my bookshelf. Also, if you guys missed my reading journal video, then I will leave that video down below. My next reading goal that I had was to cut down my physical TBR, and I want to have a less number of unread books on my shelf than I did in 2024. This goal I won't actually know until October, because in October is kind of when my like physical TBR ends and when it starts, because of like making my unread books on my shelf video. But last year I had just over 300, and so I guess we will see in that video when I film that later on in the year how close I am, or if I did achieve that goal or not. But in saying that, a lot of the books that I have read this year have been from my physical TBR. So 25 out of the 31 books that I have read this year have been on my physical TBR at the start of the year, so I feel like that's honestly not bad. Like, that's a pretty good dent. My next goal was to read 5 Christian non-fiction books, and I have read 3, so I feel like I'm well on track to achieving that goal. I'm also currently in the middle of Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Finish 5 series, so I feel like this one could be better. I have completed 2 series this year, but then in saying that, I've also started like 7 series, but I'm also not continuing one, and I have continued 6 other series. So like, I've been working through completing series. And my last goal that I had was that I wanted to read 1 new book that I had purchased on my TBR, followed by 1 older book. I feel like I haven't done too bad at this. I have read 19 new books out of the 31 and 11 older books, and 1 of them was a reread. I could be doing better at this, to be honest, because 19 versus 11, there is quite a big difference there. I feel like some of my goals I'm kind of nearing or am on track to achieving, and others I feel like I might need to put in a bit more work in the second half of the year. That is literally my mid-year book tag. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. I do kind of film this video a little bit later because obviously I like to get my first 6 months fully down first before I film this. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Please make sure to turn on the notifications and check out my social media. It's always linked down below in the description box. If you guys want to watch more reading videos, or if you want to watch any of these videos that I have filmed in the past, I will leave my playlist down below called Reading. Hopefully this gave you some recommendations of books to try. If you guys have read any of these books, let me know down below, or if you want to read any after watching this video, let me know that as well, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!